Have you ever stopped to imagine the delicious chaos it would be to play Marvel Cosmic Invasion with a reinforcement coming straight from DC? This type of beat 'em up lives for one thing: absurd synergy between characters, screen clearing ability kits, crowd control, and that ult that changes the fight when the horde starts closing in. That's where the fun begins. If we could open a portal and smuggle 10 names from DC into this Marvel cosmic journey, who would actually make a real difference in gameplay? Not just for being strong in the lore, but for fitting perfectly into the rhythm of invasion, team combos, and mass brawling. Today, I'm going to show you 10 DC characters who would be game changers in Marvel Cosmic Invasion. And I'm warning you now, there are obvious choices, unexpected ones, and at least one character who, if they joined your team, would make you rethink the definition of screen control. I'm Matthew, and the video starts now. Including Batman would be one of those crossovers that makes us pause the game just to look and think, how has no one done this before? In a beat 'em up of this style, the Dark Knight would fit perfectly as that technical character, full of resources and with a more calculated gameplay loop. While Marvel heroes smash everything with cosmic energy or brute force, Batman would arrive showing that strategy and preparation still defeat any power. In terms of combat style, I can imagine him with an insane mix of martial arts and gadgets, very much in the spirit of the Arkham series, but adapted for something more dynamic and cooperative. He would attack with fast strikes, precise counters, and finishers featuring the famous parry that dismantles huge enemies efficiently. In aerial combos, he could use the grappling hook to pull enemies back into the fighting field to continue the sequence. Exactly the kind of mechanic that would make a beat 'em up's pace more varied and fluid. In the context of the Cosmic Invasion story, it would make total sense to cast Batman as the team's infiltrator strategist. While the cosmic heroes face giant invaders, he would be investigating who is manipulating everything behind the scenes, perhaps even discovering that the invasion was planned by something much darker. This approach would maintain the essence of the character while strengthening the narrative within the chaos of intergalactic battles. Visually, it would be incredible to see a Batman suit adapted for space, something between the Hellbat armor and a tactical cosmic version with dark metallic tones and subtle energy lights. When he enters rage mode, the lights could begin to glow red, as if the suit were pushing its limits to ensure he keeps fighting, even without superpowers. This kind of visual detail would make every move of his even more impactful amidst the cosmic chaos. Batman would be the perfect balance within Marvel Cosmic Invasion. He would bring control, coolness, and tactical mastery to a game where almost everyone fights through sheer force. He'd be that character who doesn't destroy in a flashy way, but wins with surgical precision. And for that very reason, he would be one of the most rewarding to play. The typical hero who, even surrounded by gods and aliens, still shows that true power comes from the mind. If Batman were the brain within Marvel Cosmic Invasion, Superman would be the pure impact. Thinking of him in this type of beat 'em up is imagining the game gaining a new layer of power and weight. He is the kind of character who arrives on screen and completely changes the pace of the fight, not just through strength, but through presence. Imagine facing hordes of cosmic enemies and suddenly seeing Superman tear through the scenery with a supersonic punch. It's the kind of moment that would make any player smile. In gameplay, Superman would fit as the ultimate bruiser, the mid-range character who destroys everything with devastating blows and movements full of visual impact. His attacks could alternate between punches that launch enemies through the air, grabs that create shockwaves, and charged strikes with heat vision. And if the game has a combo system, imagine linking an uppercut that throws the enemy high, and then crossing the map with a straight line supersonic dash to finish them off? He's the kind of character who turns any ordinary brawl into a spectacle. But what always makes Superman interesting is the contrast between his strength and his morals. Within the story of Marvel Cosmic Invasion, he would be the emotional counterpoint to the madness of the cosmic universe. While many Marvel heroes deal with dilemmas of power and responsibility, Superman would bring that inspiring presence, the symbol of hope who continues to believe there is always a better way, even when fighting beings that defy physics itself. He'd be a character who isn't just there to win, but to remind the group why they fight. Visually, it would be amazing to see Superman with a suit adapted for an interplanetary environment. Something that mixes the classic blue and red with energy details, as if the sun of another system were fueling his powers even further. You can imagine the special attack effect, him flying to a planet's orbit and returning in free fall with a strike so strong it alters the terrain for a few seconds. It's the kind of scene that would make any player pause the game just to watch the replay. Ultimately, Superman would be the personification of pure power within Marvel Cosmic Invasion, but with enough heart and heroism to keep the game from turning into mere chaos. He would bring balance, destructive yet fair, invincible yet human. In a beat-em-up where each character represents a way of fighting, Superman would be the one who reminds us why being a hero still matters, even in a universe where even stars can fall. Imagining Wonder Woman in the Marvel Cosmic Invasion universe is the kind of crossover every beat-em-up fan would love to see. She isn't just a DC icon, she is one of the most complete characters in terms of combat. Brute force, sword technique, speed, and divine power. All of this would make her an incredible addition to the roster. Visually, she already has enough presence to steal the scene among cosmic heroes and alien monsters. In gameplay, I can see her functioning as a medium-high power character, balancing attack and defense. The shield would be her differentiator, serving to reflect projectiles and create openings in enemy combos. Meanwhile, the lasso of truth would bring a more tactical mechanic, pulling enemies from afar, interrupting attacks, or even being used in high-impact finishers. She'd be the type of character that rewards those who play aggressively but with precision, almost like a middle ground between Captain America and the game's version of Gamora. In terms of setting, it would make total sense to place her on an interdimensional mission, perhaps recruited by a cosmic entity to prevent universes from collapsing. Marvel Cosmic Invasion already plays with the idea of different realities and dimensional portals. Wonder Woman's presence could represent a temporary fusion between worlds, as if cosmic energies had broken the barriers between DC and Marvel. This would pave the way for a very epic plot full of memorable battles. Imagining her look in this game style is fun. Think of a more galactic version, with armor reflecting cosmic energy and the lasso glowing as if made of pure starlight. Every strike would leave a golden trail, and her specials could invoke the power of the gods, like an area attack with Zeus's lightning or a charge with a divine aura. It would be visually stunning and would fit perfectly with the game's intense and energetic vibe. I think Wonder Woman would add more than just power. She would bring leadership to the team. She's the kind of character who inspires, and in a game full of heroes with conflicts and strong personalities, she would balance the dynamics, acting as the moral and strategic force. Seeing her fighting shoulder to shoulder with characters like Thor, Nova, or even Thanos himself would be as surreal as it is epic. And honestly, it's the kind of crossover every beat-em-up fan dreams of seeing one day. Including the Flash would be the kind of idea that looks broken on paper, but perfect in a beat-em-up if well designed. I always think that games of this style live on impact and rhythm, and no one screams rhythm more than the Flash. He would arrive with a different energy than the rest of the cast because he isn't just fast, he changes the flow of the fight. And that, in a brawler full of crowded screens and chaos, would be delicious to play. In his kit, I imagine the Flash as a rushdown character, built to get in, explode with hits, and get out before taking a response. Normal strikes could be sequences of punches so fast they feel like natural multi-hits, and the differentiator would be a dash cancel that lets you string combos together very fluidly. To keep him from becoming overpowered, the game could tie these bursts of speed to an energy bar, like a speed force meter, that you recharge by hitting and moving. This way you play fast, but with control, without turning every stage into a cakewalk. The coolest fit, for me, is turning the speed force into a crowd control mechanic. Instead of just hitting faster, he could apply an area deceleration effect, as if the world entered slow motion for a second while you reposition and punish everyone. This goes great with beat-em-ups because it solves the biggest problem when the screen gets messy. Projectiles coming from off-screen, enemies entering from behind, surprise grabs. The Flash would be the guy who reorganizes the mess and makes the fight look choreographed. In terms of specials, you can imagine some very striking things. A tornado spinning his arms to pull enemies in and group them for a team combo. A straight line dash across the screen that acts as a screen clear but leaves you vulnerable if you miss. And that classic infinite mass punch as a super. A single hit with absurd impact and a dramatic camera angle. And I would add a detail I love in brawlers. He saves allies. Like, in co-op, if a friend is about to be hit by a heavy attack, Flash could have a special assist that pushes the ally aside and even lands a counter hit. In the story, I'd fit him in as a direct consequence of the game's cosmic chaos. A dimensional rupture messing with time, and Flash being pulled into this conflict because he perceives the timeline is tearing. He wouldn't need to steal the spotlight, he'd be the emergency backup, the guy who shows up because something is very wrong. And honestly, I can even feel the pleasure of playing as him. When you master the timing of the dashes and use slow motion at the right time, you don't just win the stage, you make it look like the stage never had a chance against you. If there's one DC character I'd include without a second thought, it's Green Lantern. His trick isn't just flying or shooting green beams, it's that his power can become anything, and that fits perfectly with a chaotic beat-em-up full of enemies on screen. I imagine entering a stage full of drones and cosmic monsters, and instead of just punching and kicking, you literally draw the blow with constructs. In his moveset, he could be a character with range and space control far above average without being broken. Think of a basic combo that alternates between a giant smashing arm, an energy blade sweeping in an arc, and a chain pulling an enemy close, all with fast animations to maintain the game's pace. Then you finish the combo with a heavy blow that changes depending on the direction, a hammer on the ground to knock down, a cage to trap, or a ram to push the crowd in a line. The coolest thing is how Green Lantern would open space for team mechanics that seem tailor-made for a game with multiple heroes. I'd really love to see a cooperative special where he creates a barrier and channels the allies' attacks. Like, he raises a dome and everyone fires from inside, causing increased damage without taking hit stun. This would not only be visually incredible, but would give him a clear identity, the guy who protects, organizes the chaos, and turns the team into a machine. And you can go beyond the strikes. He would be perfect for stage objectives and environment interactions. Instead of pressing a button to open a path, he could create a bridge, a crane, or a platform for a limited time, changing the flow of the fight and creating risk-reward situations. I love it when beat-em-ups make the environment part of the combat, and Green Lantern is basically a narrative and mechanical excuse for that to happen all the time. I think he would fit the cosmic tone of the game without needing to force anything. Intergalactic cores, universal threats, space sectors, that's his backyard. And the best part? Each version of the character could be a skin with small, smart variations. More tank, more support, more damage, maintaining the fantasy of being a lantern without breaking the balance. I honestly see him as one of the most versatile characters who could elevate the roster and make every stage more creative. If I had to choose a DC character that many people underestimate, but who would fit like a glove in Marvel Cosmic Invasion, I'd go with Aquaman. He has that warrior king energy that goes well with direct brawling, but with a different flavor, weight, impact, and area control. And in a game with a cosmic threat, I like the idea of someone who seems territorial, the guy of the seas, proving that his reach goes far beyond the ocean. In his moveset, I imagine Aquaman as a strength character with surprising mobility and high priority strikes. The trident gives him clean range to go head-to-head with large enemies, which is perfect for beat-em-ups when the screen fills with bruisers. You can make a satisfying combo by alternating quick stabs with wide sweeps, and finishing with a heavy blow that sticks to the target, like a trident pull that repositions the enemy so you can continue the combo or set up a throw. What would really make him special, for me, is how the game could translate the sea theme without relying on being underwater all the time. I'd want to see skills that invoke water pressure, whirlpools, and waves as crowd control tools. A wave that pushes the horde into a corner, a vortex that gathers enemies for a team super, or a water blast that gives a short stun and opens a damage window. This would keep Aquaman with a unique visual identity and still create that tactical breathing room that makes a difference when the stage gets insane. And then comes a part I love. Aquaman would be a goldmine for stage interactions and enemy variety. Imagine stages on oceanic planets, space stations with containment tanks, abyssal creatures being used by the cosmic invasion. He would become the character who reads this type of scenery better than anyone. Even on a dry stage, you can technically justify his effects as moisture pressure manipulation, keeping the fantasy intact and the gameplay fun. I think Aquaman would bring a great contrast to the roster. While many cosmic heroes tend to be lasers, energy, flight, he is melee, brutal, with an almost gladiator style, but with area mastery and a king's presence. And that helps a lot in a character list, because you want different silhouettes and sensations in your hand, not just skins with similar attacks. I'd play as him in a heartbeat just for the promise of feeling every trident strike and, at the same time, controlling the screen with water as if it were a weapon. Nightwing would be one of the most stylish additions I can imagine. He has that perfect balance between agility, charisma, and technique. The kind of character that shines when the combat system has depth. And in a game where cosmic characters generally focus on raw power and explosive visual effects, Nightwing would be the craftsman of the fight, the guy who wins more through skill than strength. His moveset would be a show of fluidity. I imagine the double Eskrima sticks becoming a natural extension of his body, with combos that resemble acrobatic martial arts mixed with the rhythm of a dance. The kind of thing from someone who learned to fight in the circus and then on the streets of Gotham. He could alternate between styles, one more technical, full of counters and dodges, and another more offensive, with chain strikes and aerial finishers. The type of character that rewards precise reflexes and reaction time, something that keeps the player completely engaged. But what would make him unique in Marvel Cosmic Invasion is how he could use gadgets and mobility to dominate the battlefield. While other heroes hold their ground with force, Nightwing would control the flow of the fight. Shock grenades that interrupt group attacks, electric darts that immobilize, and a grappling hook for quick repositioning. He would be perfect for those who like to play as a hunter, hitting, escaping, and coming back with a clean strike at the right moment. The type of character who changes the pace of the match. Narratively, he'd also make total sense in the game's universe. Among gods and cosmic entities, Nightwing would be the human who keeps his feet on the ground, the hero who shows that skill and determination are worth as much as cosmic power. He would be that element of humanity that balances the team, bringing a more intimate touch to the story, a very welcome contrast amidst so much grandeur. His presence would remind us that even a guy without powers can shine just the same. And honestly, Nightwing has too much style not to steal the scene. Visually, he would stand out with the blue in the darkness of space settings and parkour that would make any agile character envious. I can imagine combos that mix the sticks, acrobatics, and pure electricity. The kind of gameplay that makes you smile every time you finish a fight without taking a hit. He wouldn't be the strongest or the flashiest, but definitely the most technical and charismatic. A character made for those who like to fight with precision and confidence. Green Arrow would be that kind of character I choose when I want to play with malice, not just brute force. In a roster full of people flying and exploding planets with energy, Oliver comes in as the guy who solves things with technique, aim, and improvisation. And that, for a beat-em-up, is gold. He becomes a character who plays differently, who creates situations, who turns the screen into a fast-paced puzzle of control and positioning. In combat, I imagine him as a delicious hybrid of short and long range. He can't be just an archer, so I'd give him melee combos with the bow acting as a staff, blunt hits, quick kicks, and those push finishers that reposition enemies. Then, in the middle of the combo, he fits in short shots almost like a cancel. A quick arrow to interrupt, a fan arrow to sweep the front line, or a heavy arrow that pierces an enemy and hits the guy behind. This would keep the pace fast without turning him into a character who just stands in the corner shooting. Oliver's big differentiator for me would be the trick arrows as crowd control tools. Glue arrow to trap a bruiser for a few seconds, shock arrow to stun a small group, explosive arrow to clear space when the horde corners you, and even a cable arrow to pull smaller enemies or reposition himself. In cooperative play, this becomes real utility. He prepares the ground for someone on the team to enter with a super, or saves an ally who is surrounded with a well-placed arrow. And you can really take advantage of his personality without having to turn it into a joke all the time. Green Arrow works as that hero who comments on his own disadvantage in a cosmic invasion. I literally brought a bow to a space war, and still proves he can handle the job. I like this vibe because it creates contrast. When everyone else is grandiose, Oliver is stubborn, sarcastic, and far too competent to die early. He becomes the character who humanizes the team, but without being weak. In the look and feel of the game, I'd want him to be a character of precision and rhythm. If you hit the right sequence, the field is under control. If you miss the timing, you get hit. A perfect special would be an arrow rain that marks an area on the ground and forces enemies to move, almost like a mini zoning ult within the beat-em-up. And honestly, I'd play with him just for the fantasy of being the ordinary guy who, with smart tricks and courage, faces impossible odds and still walks away striking a pose. Cyborg is that character I'd include because he's born perfect for the technology versus cosmic chaos vibe. He has a tank presence, weaponry to clear the screen, and still gives the feeling of being a hero who is always adapting, downloading updates in the middle of the brawl. And I like that in a beat-em-up. You feel like you're using an intelligent war machine, not just a strong sprite. In gameplay, I see Victor as a heavy bruiser with medium range, but with technological tools that make the rhythm more varied. Basic combos could mix hydraulic punches with integrated pulse cannons, creating that cadence of hit, hit, short shot, finisher. And he could have strikes that change the character's stance, melee mode for damage and stagger, and weaponry mode for area control. This would give him a very different flavor from other strongman characters. The most satisfying differentiator would be a simple module system for special abilities. For example, the same cannon blast could come out as a burst to clear minions, a concentrated beam to melt elites, or a push shot to reposition a horde, depending on the command. And to round out the cyborg fantasy, I'd include an overheat resource that rewards aggressiveness. The more you fight without stopping, the more you unlock supercharged versions of the specials. Then the player feels like they're actually scaling in power during the stage. In co-op, he'd be that partner who saves runs. I imagine a defensive special where he opens an energy shield/wall in front of the team for a few seconds, holding back projectiles and advancing enemies. And since the game has this invasion and large-scale threat feel, it would be incredible to see a hack super. He paralyzes robotic enemies, turns turrets against the invaders themselves, or knocks drones out of the sky for a moment. This creates turnaround situations without depending only on raw damage. And there's the personal side that makes Cyborg work so well. He is the hero who carries conflict and humanity inside a body armed to the teeth. In Marvel Cosmic Invasion, I'd love to see this translated into the way he fights. Half instinct, half calculation, always seeking to protect someone, always trying to prove he's still in there. He'd be very well utilized because he offers impact, utility, and sci-fi style, but also because he brings that "I will hold the line" energy that makes an entire team feel stronger just by having him on the screen. Shazam would be, without exaggeration, one of the most fun characters to play. He has that explosive energy that fits perfectly with the cosmic scale of the game. A teenager with the power of ancient gods, facing threats that make the entire universe tremble. I love this contrast. Billy's innocence and humor mixed with Shazam's colossal weight. He's the type of character who brings charisma and power in equal measure. In combat, he would be an impact and mobility monster. I imagine his strikes with absurd physicality. Every punch feels like a thunderclap. Every dash leaves an electric trail. Combos could mix melee attacks with automatic energy discharges. Hit, teleport in a flash, reappear with a vertical strike that launches enemies upward. And when the meter fills, he activates the full power of Zeus's lightning, creating an electric field that amplifies the damage of all heroes around him. He's that character who dominates the screen and turns the battlefield into a living storm. Another thing that would be fantastic is how Shazam could alternate between brute force and magic attacks. While other heroes fire missiles or lasers, he would launch enchanted lightning bolts that bounce between enemies, creating an electric rhythm in combat. And then you could play with the timing. If you hit the combo at the right time, he channels the power, and the next attack releases a massive thunderbolt. This rewards player skill and makes his gameplay always exciting, full of brightness and noise. In narrative terms, Shazam fits beautifully into the tone of Marvel Cosmic Invasion. He represents the kind of hero who is genuinely awestruck by the universe, the boy inside the cosmic warrior. While other characters are used to intergalactic wars, Billy would react to everything with wonder and sincere excitement. This would bring lightness and humor to the story, breaking the tension of more serious moments without ever leaving the heroic fantasy. He is that character who makes you smile between one fight and the next. And honestly, I see Shazam as one of the most sensory characters possible in this type of game. He has sound, light, impact, and a personality that fills the screen. His style would be perfect for players who like to fight with total power, feeling every lightning bolt and explosion, without losing the fun side. He's the hero who makes you feel invincible and excited at the same time. The one who, when the special activates and the thunder falls, makes you think, "This is why I love this game."